talks on Gita. That is why the Lord says, Ekam Sankyam Cha Yogam Chaya Pasyati Sa Pasyati. He truly sees who sees both Sankhya and Yoga, that is knowledge and selfless action, as one. He who realizes that Yoga and Sankhya are one understands the true secret. Let a true sannyasi, with mind completely pure and still, dwelling in the divine consciousness, stay amongst us for just a few days. Imagine how much he will illuminate and inspire our lives. His mere presence will achieve what good works accumulated over years cannot. Even a look at a photograph can cleanse the mind. Pictures of departed persons can arouse devotion and love in the heart and purify it. Imagine then the inspiration one can derive from being in the presence of a living sannyasi. Both the sannyasi and the yogi do lok sangar. In the case of sannyasi, action appears to have been renounced, but the apparent inaction is full of action. It is packed with infinite inspiration. Ajnani sannyasi and Ajnani karmyogi are on the same plane. Terms differ, but the meaning is the same. Yoga and sannyas are two modes of the same reality. A wheel in rapid motion seems at rest. This is the case with a sannyasi. Mahavir, Buddha, Nibbatyanath were such realized souls. Although the activity of a sannyasi appears to have come to a standstill, he is doing immense work. Thus, a yogi is a sannyasi and a sannyasi is a yogi. These terms are synonymous and interchangeable. But still, yoga is better than sannyas. Nevertheless, the Lord has given a little more weight to yoga. He says that Karma Yoga is superior to sannyas. Why does he say so? When there is no difference between them, what does it mean? When the Lord says so, it is from the standpoint of a seeker. Doing everything without being active is possible for a realized soul, not for a seeker. But it is possible for a seeker, at least to some extent, to follow the way of doing everything without getting attached to work. That is acting outwardly but remaining inactive within. Working without outward action will be a riddle for a seeker. He will be at a loss to understand. For a seeker, Karma Yoga is both the way and the way. But sannyas is only the way. It cannot be the way. Hence, from the standpoint of the seeker, Karma Yoga is superior and preferable to sannyas. By the same reason, the Lord has in the 12th chapter said that Sagun is preferable to Nirgun. All the organs can be put to use in Sagun sadhana. It is not so in the Nirgun sadhana, where there is no work for the organs. This is difficult for a seeker to follow. In Sagun sadhana, eyes can behold the Lord's form, ears can hear His praise, hands can worship Him in the form of an image and serve the pupil. Feet can be used to go on a pilgrimage. In this way, all the organs can be given some work, and putting them to such use, they can be gradually saturated with the divine consciousness. This is possible in Sagun sadhana, not in the Nirgun one where there is no use for any organ. There is, as it were, a ban on the use of all the organs. Such a blanket ban could very well frighten a seeker. How can then Nirgun get imprinted on his mind? If he sits still, his mind will get filled with all sorts of useless and untoward thoughts. The nature of the sense organ is such that they invariably tend to do what they are told not to do. Do not the advertisements exploit this very fact? They start with the headline, "Don't read this." So the reader is intrigued and invariably reads what follows. That is the very purpose of the advertisements, to induce the pupil to read their contents attentively. In Nirgun sadhana, the mind will wander aimlessly, while in Sagun Bhakti it will be engaged in something or the other. In Sagun Bhakti, there is place for worship, service, compassion. The organs have something to do in it. If the organs are so engaged, the mind will not go anywhere, even if given freedom to do so. It will get interested in the activities and will automatically get concentrated without even being aware of it. But if you try to concentrate the mind forcibly, it will run away in no time. It is therefore better to engage the organs in some good work and let the mind go anywhere. It will not do so. But if you try to force it to be still in one place, it will invariably run away. Sagun is superior to Nirgun for a man engaged in the body because it is easier. The ingenuity in seeing that the actions leave no trace on the mind is better than doing work without acting because it is easier. In Karma Yoga, there is scope for efforts and practice. In it, one can control the organs and then try to withdraw the mind from all the activities gradually. This effort can succeed someday, even if it is not immediately possible. Karma Yoga is thus easier to follow. It is its special plus point. Otherwise, Karma Yoga and Sannyas are one and the same in their perfect states. In Karma Yoga, hectic activity appears on the surface, but there is perfect peace within. While in Sannyas, there is power of moving the whole world without doing anything. Thus, both are not what they appear to be. Perfect Karma Yoga is sannyas and perfect sannyas is Karma Yoga. There is no difference, but Karma Yoga is easier for a seeker to follow. Changved sent a letter to Janandeva. It was nothing but a piece of blank paper, as he could not make up his mind on how to address Janandeva. Janandeva was much younger in years but superior in wisdom. Should he address him respectfully as one addresses an elder, or as one addresses a younger person? Unable to decide, he sent the blank letter. It first reached the hands of Nibratinath. He read it and passed it on to Janandeva, who too read it and passed it to Muktabai, their youngest sister. Reading the letter, Muktabai exclaimed, "Hey Changdeva, you are so old, but still you are blank." Nibratinath had written in that letter. He said, "Yes, Changdev is blank, which means that he is pure and innocent, and therefore deserves to be taught." So he asked Janandeva to send a reply to this letter. Janandeva sent a letter comprising 65 small stanzas. This letter is therefore called Changdeva Prasasti. Such is the charming story of this letter. It is easy to read the written words, but difficult to read what is not written. There is no end to reading it. A sannyasi appears to be empty and blank, but he is full of infinite work. Although sannyas and karma yoga are of equal worth in their perfect states, karma yoga has an additional practice values. A currency note and a gold coin of the same denomination have the same value as long as the government is stable. But if the government collapses, the currency note is reduced to a piece of paper, whereas the gold coin will have some worth under all circumstances, as it is, after all, made of a precious metal. In the perfect state, karma yoga, action and renunciation of action have the same value as self-knowledge is there in both of them. Value of self-knowledge is infinite. In mathematics, there is a principle that you may add any quantity to infinity. The total remains equal to infinity. Karma yoga and renunciation of karma are of equal value when coupled with self-knowledge. But when self-knowledge is deleted from both the sides, karma yoga is preferable for a seeker Action through inaction is a riddle beyond the understanding of the seeker. Karma Yoga, as already stated, is a path as well as the destination, while sannyas is only the destination in the terminology of the scriptures. Karma Yoga is a means as well as the nishtha, while sannyas is only the nishtha that is the ultimate state. Thank you very much for listening. Jai Shri Krishna.